All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first forum of the evening, which is the Fargo Park Board. There are 2 open seats and 3 candidates running. So I want to thank all the candidates for joining us for the Fargo Park Board Candidates Forum hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley. My name is Ashley. I'm currently serving on the League's Board of Directors and will be the moderator for this forum. This forum is being streamed live and will be recorded for playback on the City of Fargo's government PEG TV channel, TV Fargo 56. This recording will also be posted to our website and Facebook page. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. We are a membership organization open to all eligible voters. If you'd like to learn more or to join the League, please visit our website or Facebook page. We want to thank the City of Fargo for providing the space and technical assistance for this evening's event, and to all of our volunteers that are greeting, collecting questions, and timekeeping. We also want to thank our sponsors this evening, which are AARP and the Hawthorne Neighborhood Association. We're grateful for all of your help. We also want to take a moment to highlight our 2024 voter guide, which is vote411.org. At that website, you can find your polling location and get personalized ballot information and compare candidate responses who are seeking your vote. The guide will be published the evening of May 9th. I put 11th here, but I think it's the 9th. Uh-oh. Sandy says 9th. Before we begin, we just want to review some of the procedures. So questions have been submitted in advance by the public online and in person here tonight. For those who are joining in the audience, if you do think of a question while we are still conducting the forum, like before we're out of time, you can get a card from one of the volunteers in the back and write your question down, and they'll bring it up to the front. Questions may be screened for clarity or combined with other similar questions. All candidates will be given the opportunity to address each question. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their opening statements. Each will be allowed 1 minute to respond to questions. And then at the conclusion of the Q&A period, candidates will be given another minute for their closing remarks. There is a timer, which is right behind me here, that will indicate how much time is remaining and will indicate when the time is done. So you'll see it count down for you, and then at the end of time, you will hear a beep, which means your time is expired. Please complete your sentence or thought so that we may move on to the next candidate or question. We also really appreciate the audience's consideration in maintaining a quiet room so that all candidates have the opportunity to answer their questions fully and in a timely manner. So we're going to begin with opening statements, which will start with Jerry Rosted and then proceed down the line. And then we'll rotate to Zoe will answer the first question, and then we'll kind of rotate through each candidate who gets to start each question from there. Jerry Rosted, if you would like to start us off with your 1 minute opening statement.
Thank you. And first of all, what I'd like to do is thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this event. You guys do such a great job. And as a volunteer myself, I know what kind of effort it takes to put in to volunteer to put something together like this. So thank you. This is my 3rd time running for a 3rd term on the park board. And I remember sitting here 4 years ago. We were at the height of COVID. And so it's nice to see actual people in the room here today. So thanks for those of you that joined us today. I'm convinced that the Fargo Park District is a player, and it's got a community responsibility for the development of our community. I think about the Park District's role in we have policies for good business and industry development in Fargo. We've got good school systems, and most importantly, the third leg of the stool is we have a great park system. That attracts business community, that helps grow our community, and so it's my desire to be on this Park Board Commissioner one more time is to continue that.
All right, thank you. And Zoe Apsey.
Hi, thanks for having me here tonight. My name's Zoe Apsey, and I'm here tonight because I am passionate about creating access and building community. I grew up in Fargo and had access to many wonderful parks within walking distance of my home, and also participated in Park District activities such as swim lessons and tennis. I graduated from Fargo South, Go Bruins, and continued my education at University of North Dakota, where I studied elementary education and later went on to study my master's of social work from Boston University. I really learned how to listen to community through my time in the Peace Corps Rwanda teaching English to help guide my work, so really hearing from the community. I also started working at the Great Plains Food Bank around the time I started my master's, so really diving into the listening to community, hearing about the barriers to access, and bringing it back to come up with new solutions, all while creating those relationships. This theme of listening to community and creating access has now become just part of who I am. I'm really excited to be here tonight.
All right, thank you. And Michael Graham.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for arranging this event, to the City of Fargo for hosting, to our moderator, Ashley, and to everyone who took the time to be here today. My name is Mike Brawlem, and I'm running on a platform centered on improving our public spaces, reinvesting in our neighborhood parks, and bringing accountability and transparency to the district office. I have a background in economics and chemical engineering, earning my degrees from the University of North Dakota, and also have the perspective of being a former Parks District employee. This skill set prepares me to dig into our budget, improve our sustainable practices, and improve relations with our dedicated staff who keep our parks in order. I look forward to everyone's questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Zoe, for our first question, we'll begin with you. What are your top 2 priorities if elected or re-elected to the Fargo Park Board?
Great, thank you. My top 2 priorities are advocating for green spaces, because creating a sense of belonging is essential in fostering inclusive community and well-being, and recognizing that maybe all of our communities don't have equitable access to the green spaces that they might see that their community needs. Also, recreation activities for all ages and abilities. Recognizing that Fargo is becoming very diverse, so making sure that we have activities where our taxpayers can see themselves in and participate in. So really going and evaluating our programs and seeing what the community needs.
All right, thank you. Michael.
Is it working?
There.
Okay, here we go. My number 1 priority is to at least begin the construction of a end-to-end trails network connecting all our riverside parks from the northernmost part of Fargo to the southernmost. This is really informed by my experience in Grand Forks, where they have a wonderful greenway system. I think we can do much better than what they have. We have a much better set of riverside parks. Moorhead has excellent parks that we can connect to as well. And that would be a great amenity for our community. Second would be to reinvest in our neighborhood parks. Some of these, particularly in our newer neighborhoods, are a little underwhelming, and I think could use some additional amenities as well as considerably more trees. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Jerry.
Thank you. Obviously, the top priority of a board commissioner is to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars and taxpayer resources. I take that very seriously. I look at the Fargo's Park Sports Center that we're building, and there's a 40% private contributions and gifts to build that facility. So our taxpayers are getting a very good return on their investment in that facility. The second thing that I think is most important for being a park board commissioner is to make viable decisions that, with stakeholder input, that further advance our park district and provide the amenities that our community wants. And as things evolve, we adapt to the different changes that the community is asking for. So pickleball courts is a perfect example. We didn't talk pickleball courts when I first got elected in 2016. Well, maybe a little. But suddenly now pickleball courts are very important to the community. And so we've responded as a park board and as a park district. And so we got to continue to meet the needs of our citizens.
All right, thank you. So, Michael, this next question will start with you. So actually just referencing the Fargo Sports Complex, as Jerry just brought up, will be opening soon. Much of the focus has been on sports, of course, but But my understanding, says the question writer, is that it will also encompass an event center, educational facilities, arts, and other creative strategies. How will you, if elected to the park board, be sure to also focus on the non-sports aspects, as not every Fargoan likes sports?
As far as the Fargo Sports Center, I think that's going to be a good venue that we can use in the future. I'm sure we can host a wide variety of events there. But I want to look beyond just the Fargo Sports Center and bring these things into our neighborhoods, into our more publicly accessible areas of town. And I think I'll call it there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Jerry, for you.
Certainly, the Sports Center has a focus on youth athletics competition, whether it's ice, indoor turf, basketball, hardwood courts, pickleball courts, but there's an indoor playground in there. There's 6 community rooms. There's 4 party rooms. There are 3 multi-purpose rooms. And as a park district, again, talking to our stakeholders across the city, we need to have places and opportunities for things like art classes and building birdhouses and things like that. And we just don't have that capability in our arsenal right now in the park district. So this is going to open up a lot of avenues for new opportunities to provide services and experiences for citizens, certainly well beyond the athletic competition side of it.
All right, thank you. Zoe.
As an individual who would not say that they are very sporty, I would be a huge advocate for focusing on non-sport activities happening at the complex. However, I think we need to make sure that we're creating access to that location through making sure we're working with Map Bus and working in communities to make sure that they have access to go there and participate in those activities. And I think from a program development standpoint is, even though this is a project and a facility, is in the first year looking at evaluation on how the programs are being received, how the activities are, the participation, and then future thinking for the next year of what can be changed and adapted.
All right, thank you. All right, so Jerry, this next question starts with you, which is perfect because you mentioned pickleball, and we just happen to have a question about pickleball come up next to the rotation. So pickleball has become a popular sport in Fargo, but there aren't enough indoor courts for wintertime play. Also, pickleball players at Courts Plus are forced to pay 3 times to use the pickleball courts. They pay taxes to support the facility, they pay for a Courts Plus membership, and then they have to pay a fee to play on the courts. People using the basketball courts or racquetball courts or the machines at Courts Plus don't pay an extra fee for use of those facilities. So I think there's maybe a slightly 2-part question here. How can we address this inequity? But also, I guess, what can we do to promote this very quickly growing sport?
Well, certainly the sport is growing, and the indoor courts that are being built out at the Sports Center are going to help alleviate that. But the cost modeling is set up in such a way that, whether you're going to go to the courts to play tennis or you're going to go there to work out, depending upon what you want to do, there's different rates and different fees for using the facilities. That offsets the overall operation of the facility, and it also brings down the unit cost for a member because they pay to have the membership, and then the rates to pay to play pickleball or tennis are less than what they would have paid if you're not a member and you show up. So it is a challenge, and we need to keep working at it. Pickleball, like I said, and our other indoor amenities as well are all. In the wintertime, it gets pretty busy at Courts Plus with all the different people showing up trying to find places to do things on a cold winter day.
All right, thank you. Zoe.
I did get a tour of the sports complex last week, and I will say there are more pickleball courts coming for the winter months. I think really with this comes to mind is all about hearing from community. I sound like a broken record, but really being in the community as a representative of the community to hear about these barriers that individuals are facing and bringing it back to the park district on how we can create change and maybe make more accessibility, whether it's through scholarships or looking at grants to help support this work so maybe the cost is reduced.
Okay, thank you. And Michael.
As others have said, it sounds like the Fargo Sports Complex will significantly alleviate the scarcity of pickleball courts. But to the specific question, we should not be charging them extra for that, and we should do away with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I promise I had determined this order before you all started talking because, again, it seems like this question, Zoe, starting with you, is actually something you mentioned a couple times. So, community engagement is crucial for successful park management. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process regarding park development and programming?
Great question. So at my work at Great Plains Food Bank, my role is really about hosting focus groups and community meetings to gather input on how we can better our services and create more access to food. And so I think if elected to the park board, I would want to learn what the park district is already doing and then provide insight or support to meet in neighborhoods where our neighbors are and have those meetings, invite them in, gather input, and then see how we can put it into work.
All right, thank you. Michael.
When it comes to these issues, I think we should be striving to have citizens take a more direct role in planning and determining what goes into these facilities. If you have a neighborhood park that we would like to do some work to, it should be the people in the neighborhood making the determinations of what goes into that park. They are paying their tax dollars already. It is their park that serves their neighborhood, and they should have the say and be leading on the design and planning for that facility. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jerry.
The Park District is very interested in stakeholder input. We've done master plans for Yonker Farm, Lindenwood Park, Island Park, the Island Park pool redesign. And in all those cases, we conducted extensive public input. We did mailings, we did online forums and surveys, we did face-to-face meetings, we brought the public in, we showed them what it is that we want to do, we took their input. And that's so critical to get it right, to get what our citizens want. And they also have to feel like they have some ownership in it. So it's a win-win. And so stakeholder input is significantly important already in our park district. And I'm so proud of our staff for the work that they've done to incorporate that work on getting input from people. All right.
Thank you. So Michael, this next question will start with you. So since 2017, 1 out of 8 new housing starts in the city has been built downtown. And so to kind of contrast that, when a new development happens in South Fargo, the park district comes in and builds a playground and trail system. As a park board member, how would you handle this situation as infill continues to play a major role in new development, as we are building many new developments downtown? How can we make sure to bring the city, the park amenities to the city where people live?
You're good. You're good.
Is it working? Okay. First of all, I think our downtown parks are several of our best parks. In fact, most of our best parks are downtown, with particularly Island Park. Lindenwood isn't far away. Oak Grove is excellent as well. Across the river, we have excellent parks as well. So as far as the downtown neighborhood, I think we have a good thing to work with here. What we need to do is continue to optimize what we have, adding features as they are determined to be necessary. I think we could do more with the area along the levee next to Island Park. But overall, it's just a matter of continuing to reinvest in what we have, keep it updated, and continue to tinker with what we have so that we have a parks district that is continuously updated for what our residents demand.
Thank you. Jerry?
I'd like to touch on the Island Park pool redesign. If you recall, it was a lap pool with diving boards at the end. Again, through public input and soliciting a lot of feedback from the neighborhoods, we are now building a pool that will open a year from now that's going to have a 50-meter competition lanes. We're going to have diving boards and platforms. We're going to have a leisure pool, a lazy river, and fly time tube and slides. It's really going to be a destination not only for the neighborhood, but for the entire community because of the amenities that we are providing based on the inputs that we receive from our stakeholders. So, that's a perfect, ideal situation. The Island Park, so beautiful downtown. It is a downtown park. So when we talk about infilling in downtown, that's a perfect example of what we're doing to sustain parks in that neighborhood. Broadway Square is another gem that we're so proud of in the city, that it's such an iconic place that it's a destination for people, whether it's the splash pads in the summer or ice in the winter.
Okay, thank you. Zoe.
I'm very excited to learn more about how parks do their park maintenance and how a park comes up first to be worked on. But when thinking about downtown, I do think that there is a lack of awareness of the communities that surround downtown, such as Unicorn Park, where I reside, or Madison neighborhood, and really looking at those parks and how we can. Broadway Square is wonderful, and Island Park and Lindenwood, but there are neighborhoods that don't have beautiful parks that could use some love. And so I'm really excited to learn about how parks come up for being redone.
All right, excellent. So Jerry, our next question will start with you. Can you share your vision for the future of our city parks? How do you plan to enhance their accessibility, sustainability, and recreational opportunities?
Well, we're doing that already with the sports center that we're building, with the Island Park pool redesign, with the master plan. The other thing that's really important that doesn't get any attention, it's not out on the front page of the papers, is we're just now finishing up a strategic planning process for the Fargo Park District. And when we have that plan finished and finalized, it's really going to serve as a guiding post for decision making well into the future for the city of Fargo and the Fargo Park District. That piece is so vital for our ability to sustain the projects that we're already doing, to add new things, to remove things. Another thing that we've done that I think is important, that again happens behind the scenes, is I help bring a cost modeling program to the Park District. So we can now model our programs and look at the unit cost, whether it's, it costs $1 per participant or $5 per participant, but that quantitative data helps drive us in our decision making in terms of what we do, what we add to, and what we look at taking away.
Thank you. Zoe.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Can you share your vision for the future of our city parks? How do you plan to enhance their accessibility, sustainability, and recreational opportunities?
Yeah, I think along with what Jerry said, the strategic plan is very exciting to hear about, and that I think having a strategic plan will really help set goals and mile markers for how we are creating access and the well-being of our community. And I think a really big part of that is, which I know the Park District is already doing, but enhancing our partnerships and collaboration, because Park District can only do so much. And so with collaboration and partners in this, wanting to make sure that our city is accessible and that community members are thriving, that is how we are going to be able to make sure that there is access to green spaces and parks where our neighbors see themselves in.
All right, thank you. And Michael.
Could you repeat the question again?
Yep. So basically, how do you plan to enhance the park's accessibility, sustainability, and recreational opportunities? So thinking, what is your kind of vision for the future of our parks?
First, I'd like to highlight the pedestrian bridge being built into the Bluestem Park in Moorhead. I would like to see us do several more of those, particularly from Lemke Park into River Oaks and Moorhead, and most importantly, a bridge from the Fargo side into MB Johnson and Moorhead. Further connecting all the Riverside Parks network with a single coherent network of trails, and integrating that with the trails which already exist, particularly on the south end with the Milwaukee Trail and the Rose Creek trails. And then finally, to put more features into our neighborhoods rather than being dependent on large complexes. Reinvesting in our neighborhood ball diamonds, our neighborhood soccer fields, putting pickleball courts in our neighborhood parks or basketball courts, things to that effect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Zoe, the next question starts with you, and I'm combining two questions here that were kind of about similar issues. Basically, the overarching issue is related to kind of basic amenities being available in the parks. So how can we make sure that there are basic amenities like trash cans, receptacles that aren't open to animals or the wind, and bathrooms in all parks and along the trails that would make the parks much more usable?
Yeah, I think just from hearing that and answering and not really knowing how the park district is currently doing it, there needs to be an inventory of what each park has and what needs to be updated at each park. And so making sure we know how many trash cans are in Unicorn Park, for example, and if one blows away or one is no longer usable, having that timeline of when it needs to be completed to make sure that everyone, that people have access to bathrooms. And I think, too, making sure that the bathrooms are open and not locked, because I have been in that situation where you have to find an alternate place. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Michael, you're next.
Echoing what Zoe said, I think on top of that, we need to make a regular inventory of what we have and making sure on a regular basis, as we do our inspections, as we run the mowers through or whatever, that we are, that everything's in place and everything is being taken care of. And from there, working with the city and determining where we can best put facilities like bathrooms. At the end of the day, that we're kind of dependent on the city infrastructure for where we can put those and where we can do that most efficiently. So that has to be really a multi-body effort.
All right, thank you. And Jerry.
I'd like to focus my answer on accessibility. And I'd like to, again, congratulate our staff on all their tremendous work in the area of accessibility. This past year, they adopted a sensory night for Santa Village at Yonker Farm. We have a sensory room that's going into the sports center that provides for a space for people that have those kinds of needs. The sports center's ice is going to be adaptive for sled hockey, so that we'll be able to have people play hockey that otherwise they don't have the ability to do that. We do adaptive camps, we do adaptive bowling, we do adaptive softball, and our staff actually go do training on the different kinds of disabilities that are out there to be able to accommodate our residents and our citizens that need the special accommodations that are so important. And we also adopted through the foundation this past year 2 golf carts that are adaptive for people who have disabilities that can go out and play golf using those carts. So there's a lot of good work being done there.
All right, thank you. So Michael, the next question begins with you. Climate change poses significant challenges to park ecosystems. How would you integrate climate resilience and adaptation strategies into park planning and management?
One of the most important things we can do to both save money for our community and also to make more livable, to moderate our climate, to affect our microclimates, is to extensively tree plant throughout our city. You can look at the map and you can often find the parks by finding the brown fields, and that is something that is unacceptable to me. We need to put a significant investment into reforesting many of our less utilized parks. We've done good work, I have to say. We've expanded the riparian zones along our riverfronts, which are great. Our nature parks on the south end are outstanding, and we need to work to expand those and to continue to improve them. So it's going to be a long process, and it's going to take some investment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jerry, you are next.
Well, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but the Park District's already doing a lot of these things. We have an aggressive, we have an aggressive emerald ash borer management program to deal with that insect as it makes its way into our community. The Park District and the groundskeeper staff look for conservative ways to apply herbicides to our golf courses and our green spaces. Every tree in Rose or Edgewood Golf Course is mapped by our state forester. He can tell you where every single tree is there. So to suggest otherwise is not. We are very conscious in terms of dealing with the environment and sustainability, and we're doing it on a daily basis.
All right, thank you. Zoe, you are the last for this question.
Yeah, I think going off what Jerry is saying is making sure that we're leaning on those partnerships and collaborations that the Park District has in the community. River Keepers is doing a lot of great work around advocating for the Red River, and the Park District is a huge partner and collaborator in that. And so making sure that we continue those partnerships and continue to seek out those partnerships with experts in the community. And I also would like to just note that making sure folks know about the different initiatives that they can be involved in, like the Boulevard Gardens, or that the Park District and the Foresters work hand in hand, I think is very valuable to let the community know about the work that is happening and ways that they can get involved.
All right, thank you. So Jerry, this next question will start with you. What are your thoughts on the proposed Yonker Farm project / changes?
I think they're great. We solicited a lot of public input on the development of Yonker Farm. To me, it's an excuse me, dealing with the little spring allergies here. It's an underutilized facility up there, and with the plan, and I don't know if you've seen the plan, but we can certainly get it to you and so you can take a look at it, but it is going to be a beautiful facility. It is already. That farmhouse is an iconic. We want to make sure we keep that. The botanical gardens are in there, and if you've not been back there, it's almost hidden from view from University Drive. Beautiful, beautiful spaces back there. And we want to expand that park and have more green space, expand the capabilities of it, and just make it, we don't want to take away from any of the usability of it, but there's so much once we get that master plan fulfilled, it's going to be just a wonderful resource for the city of Fargo.
All right, and Zoe?
I'm excited that North Fargo is kind of giving it a new life, right? There's going to be new life up in North Fargo. I'm excited to see how the plan goes and it looks. I want to make sure that we are still thinking of communities and making them feel welcome there and that they have adequate access to accessing all the amenities that will be there. And again, sounding like a broken record, making sure that we're evaluating after so much time to make sure that the activities, the programs, the spaces are what the community want and desire.
All right, thank you. Michael?
I have mixed thoughts on the Yonker Park project. On the southern end, I like many of the things that are planned for the botanical garden, but for the northern portion of that, I think we could have done a much lower impact plan that would have achieved many of the same goals. I don't really see how it's necessary to move the dog park, for instance. At the feedback meetings, everyone from the neighborhood spoke out against that. I think we should maybe go back and readdress some of that plan to maybe make it a more cost-conscious plan and maybe lean more into the farm aspect of Yonker Farm and leave it as more of a rustic area rather than a manicured downtown park like Island Park is. All
right, thank you. So Zoe, you get to take the first stab at this next question related to budgets. So the question writer writes, my understanding as a Fargoan is that the park board budget is separate from the regular Fargo budget. Budgets are always complicated for us lay people to understand. How can you find a way to help the average Fargoan understand the park board budget?
Great question. I also am a layperson when it comes to budgets. However, I'm excited to learn about the budgeting process that the park board goes through. And I think having elected officials that you are electing and are part of the community, be those spokespersons for it. So having community forums, going to speak at local gatherings about what the budget entails, and here's the activities we're doing. This is why the budget is this way. I think just having that transparency and being part of the community can really help with the messaging around the budget.
All right, thank you. Michael?
Now, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
So my understanding as a Fargoan is that the park board budget is separate from the regular Fargo budget. Budgets are always complicated for us lay people to understand. How can you find a way to help the average Fargoan understand the park budget?
First of all, I think we need to go into more detail in our public available documentation about exactly how much is being spent on which park. For instance, with the golf courses, break it down by golf course rather than just giving us a summary. Adding those extra details would go a long way to improving the transparency of how we're budgeting. And once I presumably get into this position, going into the details of what our long-term perspectives are, how our facilities are aging, and what our future needs will be something that I'll be very interested in.
All right, thank you. And Jerry?
Well, first of all, I'd line you up with our budget people and have them explain things to you, because sometimes it is daunting. And I have to sit down with our budget folks once in a while, too, to have them explain this and that. But that's the important thing, is that they're there for us to do that. And not just us. When I say commissioners, I'm talking about us, the city. So, if there's something that you're not sure of, pick up the phone and give us a call. But beyond that, budgeting is a year-round process for us. We start the process from we get the budget approved in the fall, and we're already starting work on the next year's budget. So it's a continuous cycle. We generate lots of input throughout the district. It percolates up. It gets to the board. We start having some reads on it. We send it back for more work, and then it comes back. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I'm a fiscally conservative person, and so I'm very conscientious of being a public steward of taxpayer dollar. And I think that some of the other members of the board feel the same way. So we're all approaching this from the same perspective.
All right, thank you. So we have one more question that we'll do here before we move into your final closing statements. So I actually think this is interesting. We've gotten a very similar question to this in past years, and I feel like this is kind of a nice, fun way to kind of wrap up and learn a little bit more about you as candidates. So this question writes, how do you presently use the Fargo Park District facilities and resources? So if you just want to speak a little bit about maybe your favorite Fargo Park Board facilities, or how you or your family or, really utilize those resources that we have here in the Fargo Park District. And Michael, this one I'll start with you.
The park that I probably spend the most in, by a considerable margin, is Forest River. I love the natural areas along our river. I spend an enormous amount of time there, and I have probably explored just about every square foot of it at this point. On the south end, I think we should work to expand that complex of parks. We have good plans coming forward to add more trails in there. In the future, it'd be excellent if we could find a way to link those two parks up with Heritage Hills, which is also turning into what will be a very excellent nature park. On the north end, we have a similar amount of natural land, wild woods, that we could bring trails into and improve that area as well. So I really like the wild areas of the parks.
All right, thank you. And Jerry?
Well, I'm trying to think of areas that I haven't explored in the park system. We've got trails and pools and golf courses and parks, neighborhood parks, regional parks, Courts Plus. I mean, there is something for everybody in the Fargo Park system, and it's more fun than ever to get out and explore, whether you take your bike out and find a path and ride along the river, or go down south by the old Orchard Park and go into that area. There's just so many things and a variety of things you can do that it's all about getting out and playing and having fun and making memories. We talk about that a lot. So make memories, and that's what the Fargo Parks are here for.
All right, thank you. Zoe?
I am definitely a user of the pickleball courts. I am really grateful that those have been expanded at Brunsville Park. I also was part of the group that helped start the Dyke West Garden by the sledding hill, and that was a great collaboration, and I'm grateful for the Park District for allowing us to use that space, because oftentimes gardening might not come up as a recreational activity. However, for many, it is recreation. Maybe not hockey, but gardening. And of course, I appreciate all the trails and wildlife that you can see along the way.
All right, thank you. So this concludes the question and answer portion of the forum. We want to thank our candidates for participating. We did have a couple questions we weren't able to get to this evening, and we do have about a 15-minute break between when this forum will end and the school board forum after this will begin. So if people have any more questions for our candidates, I would imagine they would probably be willing to stick around and chat with you a bit. So again, if you would like to continue learning more about the candidates, you can visit vote411.org. Starting May 9th is when we will publish the answers to the questions from the candidates to help you learn more about their positions on important issues. And as a reminder, all of the forms that we are doing tonight and then again on Wednesday are for the upcoming primary election. Actual election day is June 11th. I did not write down early voting information offhand, but check the Cass County Auditor's website for early voting information. This is when we will vote on our local races, including Park Board, City Commission, School Board, and then we have a primary for Cass County Commission as well. In the back table, kind of right when you walked in, we have some great cards that have information on making a voting plan. So it includes things like checking out vote411.org, making sure you have the correct ID, having, the date and time and locations of the polling places, and basically all the information that you would need in order to vote on election day or early, if that's your style. So you can check those out there in the back. We also have membership brochures in the back as well. So if you are interested in being a member of the League of Women Voters, you can check that out there. And so to conclude, we will start, Jerry, you start us off again with the closing remarks this time, and then so each candidate will be given a minute for closing remarks.
Great. Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for doing such great work. It's great for our community. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the past 2 terms as a commissioner on the Fargo Park Board, and I seek your support for a 3rd term. I'm fully engaged on all the issues that are going on in the Park District now, so I'm not going to hit the ground running. I'm already on the ground running. I think community service is hugely important. I'm invested in this community. I want this community to be successful, and I want to do everything I can to help. I served 28 years in the Navy Reserve, so I think community service is important, and giving back to your community, whether you volunteer and doing like the League of Women Voters, or if you're volunteering in Growing Together Gardens, which my wife and I have been doing for 6 years, or if you're volunteering at your church or whatever. I just think it's important that we give back to such a great community. And certainly I've been blessed with all kinds of things in my life. And so I think it's critically important to give back to the community.
All right. Thank you. Zoe.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I have learned so much in my 3 months of campaigning, really learning about what the Park District is doing and hearing from communities about what they want to see in the future. I was privileged and lucky enough to have access to parks and recreational activities, and I hope, if elected, to create access for all of our communities and make sure that they know about scholarships and initiatives that they can be part of. And I'm hopeful that they see themselves in these spaces because everyone is part of this community. If you want to learn more, you can check out Zoe for Parks on Facebook, and I invite everyone to Bear Creek Winery tomorrow night for my Zoe for Parks meet and greet, 5 to 7:30. Again, this has just been a wonderful experience, and I'm excited to learn more.
All right. Thank you. Michael.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I think it's a very good thing for this community to get out and talk about the issues in public, to address the concerns that people have. There's a lot that we can do to get to the point where we have that world-class park system, because we have the excellent building blocks. We have excellent parks that already exist throughout our town, and it's just a matter of taking it to the next level, taking those next steps, continuing to tinker with what we have and improve day by day, and get to the point where we can say proudly that our park system is better than Minneapolis's or whoever's, so that we don't have to look at Grand Forks and be like, oh, they have a better greenway system than we do. I want us to lead and have the best system that we can possibly have, and to do it as affordably and efficiently as we can.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to our candidates for being here tonight, and thank you to the audience for submitting questions. That concludes our first forum for the evening. Starting at 7, so in about 17 minutes here, we will have the Fargo School Board Candidates Forum. So please stick around. Thank you.